Magandang umaga, Filipinas. Good morning. You're watching Eagle News Mornings from Canada. I'm Thomas I. Likeness, reporting from our Eagle News studio in the Western Canadian province of Alberta. My city is Edmonton, and we're here to bring you news from across the country. Well, what's happening this Tuesday morning? We began our day here with some rain, which, well, it's not a bad thing, Helps things grow, of course, and keeps some of the dust down. Let's get that second cup of coffee now. The 3-in-1's up on the top shelf there. Got it? Good. Now sit back, relax, and let's bring you up to date with what's happening in Canada. First, we'll look at the weather across the country. Our street scene today comes from the Vancouver area. This street scene actually has no streets. It was shot by our Canadian Bureau Chief, Jay Suarez. Thanks, Jay, for that. This is the mouth of the Fraser River in Vancouver as it empties into the Pacific Ocean. And in Vancouver today, I'm told it got up to around 18-20 degrees, partly sunny. Pretty much the same, I'm told, in Victoria. Let's move eastward to Alberta. We are cloudy with rain and 6 degrees in both Edmonton and Calgary. I think has the rain let up a little bit? Yeah, my wife says the rain is kind of ended here. But, this morning there were reports of light snow. Can you believe this? It's May, and an hour west of Edmonton, in May, we've got light snow. We go to Saskatchewan now, partly sunny, 16 degrees in Saskatoon, 13 in Regina. Winnipeg, a few clouds, and 13. 11 with partly sunny skies in Toronto, and much the same up in the nation's capital of Ottawa. In Montreal, cloudy and 10. We go to the Atlantic provinces where it's mostly cloudy, and again, it's very cool there. 7 degrees temperatures across the province there, and they reported some rain in Halifax. Some of the stories we're following today: Canada has pledged $850 million to a global fund in the fight against COVID-19. How does the Prime Minister feel about sending his kids back to school? How well are Canadians following the public health orders that have been implemented? Cargill, you recall Cargill, that meat plant in High River, Alberta, that reopens. We'll update you on the flooding in Fort McMurray. A look at some virtual tools available for mental health in BC. The Canadian Football League wants some government money. And we'll end the program spending some time in the kitchen this morning. But first, Canada has joined a global effort to fight the COVID-19 pandemic. Prime Minister Trudeau this morning took out the country's wallet at an international pledge conference that he attended via WebEx.
Canada's contribution of over $850 million for the global fight against COVID-19 includes investments in Canadian and international research. At home, we're providing funding for everything from the University of Saskatchewan's Vaccine and Infectious Disease Organization for their work on vaccine development to Vancouver-based Abcelera for treatments. Right across the country, we're making sure that Canadians can keep leading.
Okay, so that's the Canadian component of this funding. What else will that money support?
Our $850 million commitment also includes support for vaccine development through the Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovations and the WHO's Solidarity Trial that helps hospitals share information on treatments. The more we cooperate, the more likely that we find a cure and find it quickly. And that's something we all want to see.
Interestingly enough, nobody from the United States was present at that teleconference. Previously, U.S. President Donald Trump has withdrawn American funding of the World Health Organization, and I guess they don't want to take part in this particular effort either. Now, many restrictions are easing in parts of Canada. Some businesses and clinics have been allowed to reopen in my province here. Now, this is going to vary depending on what province you live in, but no matter what, even if the restrictions are easing, we have this warning from Prime Minister Trudeau.
I know the weather's getting nicer, but we still need to be extremely careful. And not just for our seniors, but for everyone around us. So don't go out unless you absolutely have to. And if you do, keep 2 meters apart from each other.
Now, let me update you on the numbers in Canada. The country has topped the 60,000 mark, 60,000 for the number of cases of COVID-19, more than 3,700 deaths. So that threat is not over by a long shot. And that's why Trudeau is saying, be cautious, be careful if you're going to be out there. You know, and I know from talking with my wife and her relatives, things in the Philippines are not nearly as bad. You folks there have less than 9,500 cases. Less than 10,000 cases and only 623 deaths. And here we are in Canada at 60,000 and over 3,700. But you know, our lockdown is not nearly as severe here than it is where you are. I know where my mother-in-law is. To get from her barangay to another, you need a pass. Otherwise, you just stay home. So obviously, your measures are working. Anybody who complains about the lockdown here, they're crazy because it's a whole lot worse. Well, you know, it's pretty much a foregone conclusion. The school year is over, at least in the classroom. But many parents are looking ahead now to September. They're wondering, you know, how is school going to resume? What precautions will have to be taken? Well, we got some interesting insight today from Prime Minister Trudeau on that.
I think obviously that's an area of provincial jurisdiction that I won't weigh in as Prime Minister, but as a parent I can certainly say that looking at what sort of social distancing measures will be in place, what are the kids going to do at recess, what are the kids going to do at lunch, how many kids are going to be in a classroom, how my kids are going to be kept safe, are things that all parents are thinking about, and all parents will want to see that the school system, the province, the teachers are grappling with before we move forward in the next steps. And I know that there are an awful lot of people at all those different levels working on that right now.
A lot to consider indeed. Incidentally, Trudeau's children attend a French-speaking school in Ontario. That school is closed. Well, just how are Canadians behaving? Are they following public health orders and restrictions? How many people have been fined? Well, we turn to the Policing the Pandemic website for the answers to that. So far, nearly 4,600 people have been charged or ticketed, and you're going to need a calculator to add up the fines. The fines total $5.8 million, nearly $6 million. And some of those people have been fined multiple times. That I can't wrap my head around. I mean, if I got a $1,000 ticket, first of all, explaining it at home is going to be a problem. But why would I go out and do it again? Anyway, most of the charges were laid in Quebec, where more than 3,000 people were ticketed. Ontario second, about 930 scofflaws there. Nova Scotia issued citations to 516 people. Alberta, I guess we're pretty law-abiding here. Only 44 people charged, including one business. Now, the most common charge was failure to physical distance or comply with minimal gathering rules. In other words, like in this province, you can't have a gathering of more than 15 people. The next most frequent source of enforcement action across the country is continuing to operate a business deemed as non-essential, and these would include things like hair salons, pawn shops, nail salons, bars and gyms, things like that. So that's how people are flouting the law across the country. By and large, I would say 3,000 people were pretty law-abiding when you consider the population is about 37 million. Well, businesses across the country are totaling up their losses that they've suffered because of the pandemic. Air Canada, the latest to weigh in on that, they report they lost more than $1 billion in the first quarter of this year. In 3 months, to lose $1 billion. Now, the same time last year, they had posted a $345 million profit. So quite a loss for them. So far, the federal government has not come up with any kind of an aid package that's specific to the airline industry. And I was just reading on some of the wire services that a lot of airlines now are taking those passenger jets, they're taking the seats out, and they're actually converting them to cargo planes, because cargo is where the money's at these days. That Cargill beef processing plant in southern Alberta, in the town of High River, it reopened today. You recall I told you yesterday the union was trying to get a stop work order to keep it shut down. Well, this morning there was a lineup of cars and buses waiting at the gates, waiting for them to open the gates. The plant had been temporarily closed for 14 days after more than 900 workers tested positive for COVID-19. There's more than 2,000 workers employed at the plant, and more than half of them come from the Filipino community in High River. The union representing the workers was, like I said, unsuccessful in getting that stop work order. Cargill says the plant is safe, though, and I just heard our medical officer of health in Alberta a few minutes ago, again, talking about it. The inspections have been done. Cargill has put in protective barriers, and where there can't be barriers, the company says it's providing face shields to workers. And they've also put restrictions on carpooling so that if somebody is infected, they're not riding with somebody who isn't. But the union president, Tom Hess, says workers are afraid to go back. They feel they have no choice. And you got to think about it. You got to think about it. If 1 out of every 2 people working in a place was infected, how would you feel about going back? I don't know. Maybe I might be a little bit worried. But, you know, this is an economic issue because these are high-paying jobs, and that's something of a rarity in this province because before the pandemic hit, Alberta was already in hard times. We were already on the verge of a recession, and if you had a high-paying job, if you had a secure job, you didn't want to give it up. So there's a lot of people, they're apprehensive about going back to work, but they're saying, you know, I need the job, and there's no other job I can go to. Now, this is no small plant either, because the Cargill plant produces more than a third of Canada's beef supply. It's a huge plant. So this, like I said, is a big money issue, not only for the company, but it's a big money issue for the workers there as well. They need it. They need to support their families. And, you know, with all the uncertainty that's happening over meat processing plants, because there's another one in southern Alberta that's got a big outbreak, we've been hearing that some grocery stores in Alberta are now putting limits on the amount of meat that consumers can buy. Quickly, I want to update you on what's happening in Fort McMurray, Alberta. That's where that ice jam caused extensive flooding. Most of the city reopened as the water level's gone down. At one point, there were 13,000 people forced from their homes. Now they've been able to go back, all except about 3,700. Boil water orders remain in effect, and that's going to be for some time because they have to flush, disinfect, and then test the water that comes out of the water treatment plant. And that plant serves a wide region. It's a regional plant. So certain areas could have that boil water advisory in effect until as late as September before that process is completed. More than 1,200 homes and buildings damaged. Can't put a dollar figure yet on the damage. Unfortunately, many people don't have insurance to cover flooding. Simply not available in many cases, and when it is, the premiums are just so high people can't afford it. We'll keep you posted on developments in that region. Still to come, how will virtual office visits work for mental health? Canada's Pro Football League wants a bailout, and hey, you'll love this recipe. We'll be going to the kitchen right after this. You're watching Eagle News Mornings from Canada.
Magtatagumpay tayo, salamat. Kung mag-fail tayo, salamat. Ang importante po, sinubukan natin, ginawa natin yung makakaya natin.
Napatunayan ko na yung talent na binigay sa akin ng Diyos, mas may expose pa. Kaya sa mga ibang artist dyan, lalo na sa mga may kapansanan din, mag-explore pa tayo ng ibang bagay tulad nito. Huwag tayong magtago, huwag tayong mahihiya. Gawin natin kung ano yung gusto talaga nating gawin.
This program is presented by SMC Infrastructure, building a better world. Sanmig Sugar-Free White Coffee, puno ng white coffee taste without the sugar, kaya lower calories. Try mo na, Sanmig Sugar-Free White Coffee. Sarap ng white coffee, now sugar-free. Vet-approved NutriChunks, the only premium dog food with active boost for optimum energy and prebiotics that help strengthen immunity. Just like Catherine Bernardo, gawing listo ganado ang fur babies nyo. Listo ganado sa NutriChunks. Co-presented by Hubert, expert in air conditioning and electromechanical. Also engaged in structural, electrical, fire protection, plumbing, and sanitary services. Hubert, your ultimate MEPS and air conditioning solutions. Vita Herbs Philippines Green Coffee. Masarap, mabango, at healthy pa. Canrib Corporation, your ventilation and air conditioning specialist. New San Jose Builders Incorporated. Unlat Incorporated International. Fight against global poverty. In participation with Rain or Shine Elastomeric Waterproofing Paint. Color for protection for your home. Matimco. Matimco is wood. Wood is Matimco. R Square Variables Incorporated. Your trusted UPS supplier and UPS maintenance provider in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. CompuZell Computer Services, ID card and lanyard manufacturer. Saisho International Trading Corporation. DN Steel. EMAC UPVC Roof Corporation.
Hey, Gretchen Ho here, and I'm a white coffee lover. Creamy kasi, and very yummy. Pero mas masarap kung hindi nakaka-guilty. Check my new discovery, San-Made Sugar-Free White Coffee. Puno ng white coffee taste without the sugar, kaya lower calories. Try mo na! San-Made Sugar-Free White Coffee. Sarap ng white coffee, now sugar-free.
The Bulacan Bulk Water Project is a treatment facility that will provide bulk water to the 24 municipalities of Bulacan to meet the increasing water demand of its residents. Through concessionaire, SMC Infrastructure also initiated the significant improvements of the Manila North Harbor Port, the country's busiest port.
Listo at ganado ang baby ko sa vet-approved NutriChunks with active boost and prebiotics na pampalisto. Made with real meat, with essential nutrients to help them grow healthy and happy. Listo, ganado sa NutriChunks.
This is Eagle News Mornings from Canada. I'm Thomas I. Likeness. Now, yesterday I told you about the federal government's plan to offer virtual health care. We have more details on that now from Eagle News correspondent Jeanette Duazo. Jeanette, what virtual tools are out there to help Canadians with their mental health?
Oh, hi, Tom. Yes, so I'll start with this. So, as we all know, all levels of government recognize the tension on individuals and families caused by COVID-19. May it be feeling disconnected due to imposed self-isolation, the financial burden due to loss of jobs, and the worry of contracting the disease for those on the front lines. So over the weekend, just like you said, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced an investment of $240 million to develop, expand, and launch virtual care and mental health tools to support all Canadians. So just on the side note, in mid-April, the province of British Columbia announced a $5 million funding to expand its existing mental health programs during the COVID-19 pandemic. So this one that the Prime Minister just announced over the weekend, it's for all Canadians. So this funding will be used to support various digital tools, which include Canada COVID-19 mobile app, which helps people track their symptoms if they do suddenly feel something different. They receive updates and access to reliable resources. A web-based email service that provides subscribers with important information directing them to the Government of Canada's website regarding COVID-19. And this is the biggest of this digital tool, is the Wellness Together Canada. So the Wellness Together Canada is an online portal that will provide Canadians with free resources, tools, and professional support services. This portal is a result of partnership of organizations with extensive capability in providing online mental health support. To note, this portal was initially built on and eventually expanded from a previous program called Kids Help Phone. So it's intended for youth that provides young people with the mental health support they need as a result of school closures and reduced access to community resources. Now, Wellness Together Canada will provide virtual support for people of all ages. So they expanded it to support all people, all Canadians of all ages. So the first and only health platform of its kind available in every province and territory. So the portal has different ways of delivering support. It has wellness self-assessment and tracking, group coaching and community support, downloadable PDF resources, self-directed e-courses, as well as 24-hour free counseling via telephone or text anywhere in Canada. In British Columbia, Canada, Jeanette Duazo, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Jeanette, before you go, quickly tell us how you can access this program.
So what people could do, they could go on their computer or even on their phone. They could type Wellness Together Canada, and right away it will show there. When they click on the link, it will ask to sign in. Like it says, to get started, sign in or click to this. So some people are not very comfortable doing that, putting their information in. So they could just scroll down the screen and there will be some options there. They could access the other means of using this without putting their information in. Tom.
Thank you for the report, Jeanette. Okay, the latest group now to have its hand out for government money is the Canadian Football League. Eagle News correspondent Zolty Horvath is standing by. He's got the details on the financial aid package that the league is asking for. Zolty, what's going on here?
Hey, Tom. So the Canadian Football League has asked the Canadian federal government for $150 million in financial aid. CFL Commissioner Randy Ambrosie told the Canadian press last week that the league proposal involves 3 phases, $30 million now to manage the impact of the COVID-19 outbreak, additional assistance for a shortened regular season, and up to another $120 million in the event that the upcoming season is canceled. The assistance would not be a handout, however. The commissioner has made it clear that the league would be held accountable in returning the money to taxpayers through community programs, tourism promotions, and leveraging on the Grey Cup. The league, which was supposed to begin on June 11th, has already moved its opening weekend to early July. The commissioner, however, stated that the realistic timeline would be a September start. The Canadian government has stated they will look at the proposal, they will consider it, but they have yet to officially respond with a decision. From Vancouver, BC, Zolty Horvath, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Zolty, is there much of an appetite for the government to be handing out money for this?
I think so, because it not only helps the league, it also helps the businesses around the stadiums, during games, because the league is already in such financial hardship that if they miss a season, they probably won't be able to continue next year or the year after, or probably for a few years down the line. And that will impact, restaurants, and hotels around the stadium. It'll impact public transit for people getting to and from games. I think it'll just have an overall negative impact if the government doesn't step in and help out the league.
How realistic do you think it is that we'll actually have fans in the stands? Because the problem with the CFL is it's very ticket dependent. You don't have the big TV money such as the NFL or the NHL or many other sports leagues do. They're highly dependent on how many people are sitting in the stands.
That's right. And I think that's a major reason that they're asking for so much. I don't think it necessarily costs that much to run the league for the year, but for instance, three of the 9 teams that are in the league don't actually have physical owners. They're community owned. So they won't have, this big, rich owner type of person to help them out financially. So I think that, like I said, that's one of the reasons they're asking for so much, because it is a very ticket-driven league.
Well, we'll wait and see what happens. Thank you for the report, Zolti. And now we're going to head to the kitchen. You're going to want to watch this. Eagle News correspondent Kathleen Cruz. She's going to take off her journalist's hat. She's putting the chef's hat on now. She's got a recipe you're going to go bananas over.
Hi everyone, I am Kathleen Cruz and I hope everyone's staying safe and healthy. And if you've been staying home and you have nothing else to do, today I am going to teach you how to make banana bread. If you have tons of overripe bananas that you don't feel like eating at all, well, this is your time. You can make your own chocolate pecan banana bread at home, and that's what I'm going to tell you about. Okay, everyone, so everything that I already have prepared here, all you have to do is basically mix everything, right? So we're going to start off with our wet ingredient, which is 1/4 cup of the oil. And then we're going to have the eggs. There you go. Set your mixer to 1. And we're going to slowly add our 1 cup of flour, 1 cup of sugar, or I'm using 1/2 cup here. And then the salt and the baking soda. Right? So easy. Next is the bananas. So before you wanted to mix everything together, you wanted to preheat your oven at 350 degrees. I'm going to put my pecans. Yep. And I'm going to add a little bit of chocolate chips. I'm using dark chocolate just because I love dark chocolate. And then I'm just going to add a tad bit of chia seed for texture. If you don't want the texture of chia seed, I don't recommend you putting it in. Just because. There you go. Yeah, it's good. So in making a cake or banana bread, you don't want over mixing. So that's as much as I wanted it mixed. So as you can see, I don't really do a lot of mixing, right? So easy. You can even make this in 5 minutes. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab our pan, just pour it in. So the secret for a moist banana bread, I would say, is that you shouldn't be over mixing any of your batter. You want to have a good quality of flour. So usually if you're wanting to make cakes or any sweet breads or anything, you wanted to use as much as possible a cake flour. There you have it. This is already the batter, and I am just going to wait until the oven is ready. So that's what we're gonna do. And for the meantime, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put my toppings. So what do I have on my toppings? So right there, I put some pecans, brown sugar, and more of the chocolate, and a little bit of cinnamon. Guys, I hope you liked this video, and I was able to share you one of my favorite recipes of the banana bread, and it's super moist that the kids can love, everyone could love. You can also mix and match it with different toppings that you'd like. As you've seen, I also added a little bit of chia seeds in there. Yeah, my name is Kathleen Cruz, and of course, we'll live in interesting times.
Oh my goodness, just watching that, I'm sure I put on a couple of pounds. Gotta try that recipe. Oh, before I go here, did you have an opportunity to take in the 52nd EBC anniversary special online concert? That was on Sunday, and it's for the benefit of the FYM Medical Foundation. You didn't? Okay. If you missed it, you really didn't miss it, because it's up on Facebook. You can take it in there. Concert features performances by Arnel Pineda, Marco Sisson, Richard Reynoso, Renz Verano, and all kinds of others, all in support of the FYM Medical Foundation. Hashtag enjoy music beyond the crisis, and be sure to take that in. That's our program for today. Thank you for watching. On behalf of the Canadian News team, I wish you all good health. Take care of others. Take care of yourselves. Stay home, stay safe, and stay tuned to Eagle News for accurate and balanced coverage of the COVID-19 pandemic. In Edmonton, Canada, Thomas I. Lightness, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.